Guys, I want to know if my students are being ignored when they come in and just the adults are being greeted or little kids. I notice the kids ministry is right there close to the check-in, so I have a feeling that the little kids have a person right there at the door. Once you check in and step through that, they're getting greeted. What about my students? What's their experience like?
Okay. I'll look at that too. Because I was just thinking, because we don't check them up in our room, we check them up, check them in downstairs. So.
Right.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else about leader meeting? Content, time, how? Okay, other than that, we've got environment, leader meeting, check-in. We haven't really talked about what check-in is supposed to look like. We did kind of, I guess, here briefly shift over to that. I want them standing and I want them sitting. Is that right or wrong? Does it really matter? And I want them to be an outgoing person that's greeting and loving on kids. Like, here comes a kid and I've been waiting all week. I haven't seen this kid for a year and it's like, ah. And they're greeting them like your best friend. You know, what I used to tell my greeters and all the lobby people when I worked with the adults is, I don't expect much, just think about what Jesus would be doing in the lobby right now. If he was handing out bullets, what would that look like if Jesus was doing that? Or if Jesus was a check-in person, what do you think that would look like? When he saw a kid come around the corner, what happens to his eyeballs?
Yeah, the one thing about not having chairs, it takes a step out of that and actually encourages it more. Is typically if you're sitting, you're not going to get up to greet in a special manner.
They have to come to you to get greeted.
Yes.
Instead of me stepping out. And I used to teach them that. If you see somebody, don't make them come all the way over to you. If, you know, here I am at guest services or whatever, you step out and you greet them. Yeah, I like the thing of don't make them come to you to get a greeting and a hug. Go get them. So that's what we're looking for in check-in. That's what we're looking for in all of our difference makers. Okay, now the rest is programmatic stuff, and I feel like we have pretty much across the board pretty tight stuff there. The countdown video, the lesson, plane landing, worship, front and back. Now I've made some suggestions, and I think at 48th Street you do this. At the plane landing, you only have one person come up and play on the keys or something. So maybe on occasion the whole band comes up, but usually plane landing is really important. And if a whole band comes up, in my opinion, it is very distracting. So if we can just have one person subtly come up and start playing keys or playing guitar, that's a win.
Yeah, I have two separate cues. My first cue is for the keys player to come up and start playing, and then the second cue is for the entirety of the band to come up.
Got it. Very
so
good.
Make sure I communicate those to them. Sometimes if they miss the cue, they get what's called the death stare. It's just the keys player misses the cue, and you just stare at them until they start making their way that way.
But see, I like how you just think through little details. You know, here I have one come up and then here's a second cue. I mean, that's really thinking through something and being intentional and not just doing it. Games. Any thoughts on games? I know at Keokuk we stopped doing games. we had the pre and all the activity, and then you get right into the program. TJ, I know a lot of times you'll do the game off of the internet kind of thing prior to the message. And I'd say it's good if it ties into the message, if you can tie it in. If not, I would figure out a way to tie it in.
Yeah, I don't. So the game, just so you guys know how my thought process is with it, is the game is, for me, oftentimes doesn't tie into the message, and my sole purpose of doing the game is for smoothing the transition from 5th grade to middle school, because the game is something that I don't love, and a lot of my older students don't love, but the younger students just really buy into it, and so I think it kind of reminds them of how interactive kids ministry is, and so I know like throughout the year I will do more games in first semester, and as the second semester progresses, I will start to taper off on them a little bit.
Wow, that's smart.
Comes up. And
yeah.
Then we'll start doing games a lot again.
Yeah, that's some smart thinking. That's very good, TJ. You kind of wean them off of that because I know at one point we were struggling because 8th graders were bailing. And so some of that can be because of the games being too childish or something. That's really smart, TJ. Anything else on games? Any thoughts?
What was that earlier? Sorry, I think I'm wrong.
I'm saying on that app, what's it called, TJ? The new Sidekick?
Sidekick, yep.
Yeah. We'll get out there, and they got a lot of like just the thumbs up stuff or the poser or kind of real quick games that you can kind of do just to create movement. You can get your kids doing something. I find that if a game is longer than really 4 minutes or 5 minutes is like, if it gets too detailed, like they just need something simple to kind of break the ice, agree to kind of have a little interaction together. And that helps a lot of our kids that don't come to our Fuse Extra, like the after school stuff. When they come in there, it helps get them tied together. So sometimes we don't do it, depending on how much time we need, but if we need to fill a little time, we just do a little activity where they try to guess it and that they have on there. So
Okay,
keep it simple and just challenge each other.
Did everybody get that written down? The name of that? What was that?
No. What was it called again? Say it again.
It's called Sidekick. It used to be the DYM Games app. It's an app that I think we pay $5 for every month, but it's got a lot of really customizable stuff on it, and it is very user-friendly. So if you go to, if you just pull up your browser and go to Sidekick, download Mac, it should let you download the Sidekick app.
Does he need login and password then, I assume?
Yep, I'll put that in the group me.
Okay.
Actually type in DYM Sidekick app. Apparently there are a lot of Sidekick apps. So make sure you type in DYM because that's the company that makes it.
Okay.
And just download and choose Mac, and it's pretty good.
If we did it the other in the past where it was through the other, I remember what it wasn't called Sidekick.
Right.
It was just called DYM Games. It's pretty lame.
Yeah. Does that work still or no?
Yeah. I think you have to download the new one, but it is virtually the same layout, just different branding, and they added more stuff, which is nice.
So it's DYM
Yep.
sidekick dot what?
I'll find it and put it in right now.
Okay. I want to make sure that the volunteers are in this group me. I'll check on that.
They got nice clean URL of sidekick.tv. How about that?
Yeah.
Mm.
Download. And get started.
There's also a website for finding video clips, is that correct? That you might use in different things. What's that site? Bluefish?
It's one of them, Bluefish. One's in Bluefish TV, I think they call it.
And what are these videos for, Sonny?
Just to use in a message, in a sermon, in a rally, in a whatever.
Yeah, Andre, where'd you download that clip from, One More, that war movie?
Yeah, that one I scrolled through YouTube because I've seen the movie. I just knew I wanted it.
So getting on YouTube and typing in some stuff probably gets you.
Yeah, now if you guys want to put those YouTube videos into your Pro Presenter, you need to download those videos from YouTube. So in order to do that, how do you guys typically do that? I typically use like a video downloader that lets me get 720. Is there a better way to do that?
I use
Clip grab.
save from net. And that's like just a one-click button thing. YouTube, it downloads it on YouTube stuff, so you just click the button right below the video. And it can be your 1080.
So Save from Net is like an add-on for your browser.
Yes,
That's pretty sweet.
super easy.
Cool.
What's the
So
name of that again?
yeah, say that again. Like you're teaching everybody how to do that.
So if you guys would open up your browsers and type in save, S-A-V-E, from, F-R-O-M, net, then you'll find what you need.
Okay.
Savefrom.net, sorry.
Savefrom.net.
Yes, and add it to your browser, and your lives will be changed.
Okay.
Seriously. It works great with Chrome. That's what I use it on.
Yeah, I use Firefox. I don't know about Safari. It probably works for all those. I don't know.
Okay. So there's some good games. Just baptism video. I mean, that's straightforward. Offering. We're in this stewardship campaign, whatever you call it. So we need to be talking about Wreck the Roof. Comprende?
I talk about it every week. I don't know how much it's doing. Like it doesn't beef up, kids giving. From what I'm seeing, like they're still giving between $10 and $20 total.
Yeah.
And I'm like vision casting it as much as I can. I'm not trying to
Sure.
over top an offering to middle school students. But I every week I reference Wreck the Roof. Every week I reference something that it's doing. We're living in Wreck the Roof because the room was renovated because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Monmouth did not happen because of Wreck the Roof. And some of them know kids who used to come to Hughes who don't want to come to Hughes because they go to Monmouth. But it's still, for some reason, man, these middle school kids.
Yeah.
It's not as. I'm lost. I don't know if you have any ideas how to.
I'd say you're probably knocking that one out of the park, and I don't know what the answer is.
Maybe lower my expectations of what they can do.
Yeah, I guess. You're swinging for the wall, but the ball isn't quite connecting with the bat. Not getting to the wall. The whole welcome thing. That's where we bring some energy, not fabricated, not false, just some energy to the thing. Any thoughts about the welcome? Welcome is pretty important. It's when we're getting everything started.
It's good to mix it up.
Okay?
Not have the same person, not have the same line, but to mix it up so that way they know it's not scripted, they know it's genuine. Because if you keep the same person doing it,
Right.
same format, then they just tune it out. They don't feel welcomed.
Right.
They don't feel. If you're going for that genuine feel, better to mix it up. Have different people do it. Not like everybody, but not the same person every week. So as much as I love to do the welcome, I'm only doing the welcome now a whole bunch because of the new format. But as soon as we get used to this, and I feel like my difference makers have been seeing how this plays out, I'm going to give it over again for other students to do the welcome, or if other leaders do the welcome and do the communion stuff. If this is the same format they stick to. I'm not sure if they're going to do that or not, but it's good to keep it fresh.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. If it is, and that's what I would lean towards, giving ministry away. If it is you for some reason, week in, week out, one thing I'm going to do is welcome, and I'm going to tell them what the day is going to hold for them. This is what we're going to be talking about today, however you want to do that, but the welcome definitely needs to be some energy there. It can't be low energy. Are you excited to be there? Are you excited that they're there? Yeah, well, that needs to come through. You love Jesus, that needs to come through. Excited about what Jesus is going to teach them today? Let that come through.
Andre, I think last I heard, and obviously this can change all the time, but their plan is to change up the order of service frequently. So like with every series or every other series. But I don't know if that is concrete or not. So,
The adults or what?
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I know that's something that they said we used to do a lot of.
Right, we did.
Didn't really expect, or they didn't know what to expect. And we got away from that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say on the programming we should mix it up, and so it's just not the same. We're going to come and do 2 songs. We're going to, week in, week out. It's the same thing. We have ability to change it up.
Other thing I had on welcome is that I find it like really kind of awkward if I am doing the welcome and I'm also preaching. It just seems kind of weird. I know this might be tough because it's like I'm welcoming everyone and then I'm stepping off stage and then we're going to the sermon and I'm back on stage. I think it just feels a lot better when there's someone else welcoming. If I'm preaching, if I'm not preaching, and I'm okay to do the welcome. It just feels weird if I'm doing.
Yeah, if you have other people doing the welcome, just make sure they understand that we need to bring some energy to it, and it needs to be scripted, not off the cuff. I mean, not scripted, but scripted. I know what I'm going to say.
Yep.
Not memorized or read from a script. But.
I have them run the welcome. If someone will do the welcome, that's not me. They're going to run it at least twice with the band. They're not just going to show up for the service at 10:15 and then run it live. They're going to practice it at least 2 times while the band is. That's another reason why it's harder to find someone to do that is they got to come in early, at 8:30, and they're going to have to do this so they understand the timing of it all. I hear what they're going to say prior to, so if they need to tweak something, you have time to tweak it and they can run it again. Because I don't want them to bomb that first thing that
yeah, 100%.
So that's part of the trick behind it too.
Anything else on welcome? Plane landing. Plane landing is what?
And the one thing on welcome,
Yes.
that especially to middle schoolers, the larger the crowd, probably the more important this is, but welcome is your chance to set the tone of getting students locked in, engaged, and respecting the art of listening yet engaging. Sometimes the best place to do that is in your welcome. I've seen sometimes if you fail to do it in your welcome and you fail to establish your expectations in your welcome, your sermon suffers because of it.
Good point.
So that's kind of that time that you need to help. Hey, we're going to have fun, we're going to engage, but we also need to listen. We also need to be locked down. Because you don't want to get on stage, first person on stage starts talking and then they're just talking over the kids. You have to really direct and use that moment so it makes your teaching that much better.
Alongside what Josh is saying, I found so like let's say you have someone coming up doing a welcome or doing a game and then they're going to pray and the bumper video is going to start. As they kind of wind things down after the game or after their welcome and they're transitioning to their prayer, that's a pretty good time for them to kind of set some guideline. Like, hey guys, TJ's going to come up, he's going to preach, and this is what I need from you. I need you guys to put your phones away. I need you guys to pay attention. I need you guys to not talk to your partner. These are the things I need you to do, and then pray and transition to the bumper video. That seems like a pretty decent time to do that.
All right. Plane landing. I ought to have Josh talk about this. He does a good job. I mean, typically, Josh, you've got, the whole sermon and everything is headed towards the one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing you want my students, I want them to know, I want them to hear this, I want them to learn it, understand it, and here's what I want them to do as a result of it.
There's one thing I've been doing teaching, and when you sit down, I need to do probably a better job teaching developers with this, is kind of having that steady line throughout every part of your sermon. So if you're going to do an interactive example, let it be something that sets up a way for you to emphasize what your main idea is. Typically, if you went to Bible school, you always do your 3-point sermons.
Mm-hmm.
I found in middle school, 3-point sermons are too much. 3 points, they're not going to remember 3 points. So a lot of times I have one main idea, and if I have 2 points of a sermon, it's just like a this, then that. So, for instance, I don't know why this one's in my head, but we did, back when Big Church did Zombieland, so we're talking like 4 years ago. Did a sermon talking about how we can be zombies, spiritual zombies, how we can be alive on the outside but dead on the inside. So that's like one sermon that has 2 points, but they are tied into the same main idea. In order to be alive on the inside, like we can be a spiritual zombie, be dead on the inside, but alive on the outside. But God's asking us to be alive on the inside more so than He is on the outside. Talking about this idea where it leads students to make this decision of really contemplating of like, all right, when you're laying in the plane, what's the internal conversation you're asking your students to have? And that's going to lead into the small group conversation that they're going to have. So that's a lot of time when perspective I look at plane landing is what kind of internal conversation am I trying to set up in these students in their talk with Jesus, in their time with Jesus, and then how is that going to lead into the conversations they have in their small group? I spend more time on a sermon preparing what not to say than I do preparing what to say.
Wow. profound.
So, well, it's just, I'm probably speaking too long. And here's, and here's what my wife gets so mad at me as Sherry hears me talking to you. She says, you repeat yourself over and over again. And I do that on purpose with View students because I really want them to take home the main idea.
Right.
Another idea I had at one point was, I think that XP3 produces slides for their main ideas. So if your main idea is partnered with the main idea of XP3, like make it something very interactive where, I know TJ has it where they write notes every single week, so they're physically writing, like he tells them what to write, so it has that stick of them actually hearing it, but also physically writing it. I'm a visual learner, so writing helps, but it also helps if I'm walking through my main idea of my sermon, and I have the main idea slide come up on the screen. It's like, hey, this is as I'm teaching, and you can represent, you can just let it be. If it's visually saying, like, this is the main idea, and my teaching is all leading to this. It should all be something, I should give a student every opportunity to walk away with it in their hands, sticky in their minds, in their hearts. So that's where I try not to overcomplicate sermons. I try to make them really simple.
Mm-hmm.
I try to say the same thing in different ways so that they'll leave knowing the same thing that's been communicated throughout the entire message, and hopefully in whatever you speak from a lesson. And you guys know XP3 funnels everything to small group conversations. So there's often times I get to my sermon for Fuse, and it's not what XP3 writes. I gotta make sure I let TJ know, hey, this is the direction I'm going, so that he can adjust small group questions accordingly. So it has that. So your teaching, your main idea, your plane landing is all cohesive with your small groups too, which is another time with that like internal conversation they have into their small group conversations.
Yeah, like Josh is saying, the visual aspects of it are good. And so if you do XP3, you guys know how their sermons are laid out. It starts with the problem, into the truth, their bottom line is somewhere in there, and the application. And so those like various things I will have on the screen. So sometimes the problem isn't super clearly laid out in XP3, and so if it's really laid out, then I'll kind of summarize it into like a one word, like, problem is that negative people can influence our faith in the wrong way. So the wrong people can influence your faith in the wrong way. So that sentence will be on the screen. The bottom line of God uses people to promote faith will be on the screen. And like the three little application sentences, the three steps, like these will be on the screen. These are the ones that I have them write down, and I always tell them to write down prior to thinking them. But because I know that I want to teach all through audible teaching, but a lot of the kids are visual learners, so I'm just trying to diversify that.
Very good. Yeah, TJ, I don't know where you got your form, but all the students have this half sheet of paper, I believe, and it's got like 4 sections on it, and they take notes in those different sections, and I think it works well. Students actually do that. So TJ has that if you want to look at it, want to incorporate it, be sure to get that.
No, they only do it, some of them only do it because sometimes there's ice cream if you can show me a film. Like, I'd say about every other week or twice a month, there's ice cream if you can produce or written note sheet. So sometimes they fill them out and they're like, is there ice cream today? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh man, but then they still filled it out. So
Okay, so plane landing, I mean, yeah, to me it's these are my sheep, I'm discipling them. I'm Jesus to these guys. What's the one thing I want them to hear, know, understand, and do. I like do, and I like it something that is applicable to their life, that is at their level of ability, that they can pull off, that they can actually do it, that they can see results, feel results. And a lot of times that's a hard one. You know, maybe it's get into God's Word. You know, I'm going to give them, here's what I want. I'm going to ask them, I need 5 minutes a day for 5 days. How many of you can do that, want to do that? God really wants to connect with you in this way. And then I'm going to give them, here is a verse, and I want you to read that on Monday, and I'm going to hand them stuff. If I want to get them into God's Word, I'm not just going to preach them and tell them. I'm going to help them get into God's Word. And I'm going to give them verses that they can look at, and then I want you to live that verse out that day. If we don't do the Bible, if we don't do what God says, Christianity can be pretty boring. It's just, but when you start doing it, that's when you can actually pee your pants. I invite a kid to we're going to Six Flags, and they go, I don't want to go to Six Flags, it's boring. And it's like, boring? What do you mean? And it turns out that they're just still back on the baby roller coaster. They haven't been challenged to get on the big roller coaster. And once they get on the big roller coaster and they're right, they go, I'm not getting off. Let's get back in line. So I want to help them live out Christianity and help them start those habits and start doing what God wants. Don't merely listen to the Word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Okay, anything else on Plain Landing? Dismissal. Dismissal is important too. Somebody saying something?
Yeah, I was going to say something.
Okay.
I usually point to the step, probably 80% of the time when I do it.
Yep.
There's going to be some sort of response to get them to the step. It might be a paper that they're going to write something on. It might be something else they're going to interact with. Or it might just be, here's the step. Here's what we do there. We pray. We bring these things to God. We ask Him to walk alongside us. We have a conversation with them. But I do that quite a bit. And the other 20% of the time when I don't do it, and I don't do the step, they still go to the step. So trying to create that culture at this age, so when they do transition up and they go to big church and Ben gets up, he's doing the Plain Landing or wherever, and they point him to the step, they know what the steps are for. When they go to camp, and that's a big response. Mm-hmm. They're not afraid, they're not shy, they know what to do. So just to get them out of, and for some sermons, that's not the response they need to do. But in a lot of cases, they get out of their comfort zone. They need to do something. They move. Sometimes stations are around the room, and we mix it up, or maybe it's a small group where you're going to find someone. But a lot of times it's pointing them to the step for that response. Trying to find creative ways to make the step not seem so intimidating.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. We hadn't mentioned steps, but that's good. I know TJ sometimes has ice cream at the steps. And at the edge of the baptistry. Actually, it's on a stand in the baptistry. You have to get in the baptistry to get the ice cream, and while you're there, it trips you.
It's actually amazing, Sonny. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I knew that. Okay, Plain Landing, dismissal, fuse isn't over yet. We got dismissal. We want to send them out. We want the music to come right in. We want it to be whatever the atmosphere needs to be, probably not pumping, but not soft. But send them out, energy. Bumper videos, any thoughts on that? Transitions, make sure transitions are good and tight, that you have transitions, that you have a transition.
don't have a bumper video, like a weekend at XP3 does not have, curriculum, I'll either, just to mix things up, one, just either not do any bumper, just have them pray, and then me, boom. Or I'll find a clip that is going to be tied into my sermon, but I'm jumping right into it. I'm not doing a whole bunch of welcome or setting things up. I'm not doing a whole bunch of intro. Here's this video clip, and this sermon's going to start right now, right after this ends.
Mm-hmm.
I'll change up my delivery and how I go about it. I'll go about sermons. Like this weekend, for example, was tough time in help grow your faith. My intro, I did not go up and say anything lighthearted. I did not go up and do an intro in this typical normal way that I would, high energy, because this was a more somber message. But my whole tone for the whole thing and everything that I was saying was delivered in a way where I'm not making light of tough situations. Earlier, the interactive called for students writing down on a card, a piece of paper, a tough time that they're going through, or somebody they know is going through. Knowing that they're already thinking about this and they wrote this down, I'm not going to go up and pretend like everything's okay,
Mm-hmm.
So just the way you go about. So that's my format might change. The way that I go about setting up sermon will look different. But for that transition portion, just depending on what XP3 has or doesn't have, I'll mix things up. I like doing that once in a while too.
Mm-hmm.
Keep on edge. That's what this is different.
It's good. It's good. When I said have a transition, I didn't necessarily mean I'm going to have a video between, somebody's just did the welcome, I'm going to have a video as my transition, and then this is going to happen. A transition might be a transition from the guy doing the welcome to the worship band coming in, and the transition from the worship band to TJ stepping up to say whatever, that there's not a gap, that we're ready, that we're not looking at our mic, we're not turning our mic on, that we're ready to go. The big box is the standard. And I'd really like it to be in that the big box's standard is the Fuse standard.
Yep.
So it takes time and intentionality. It takes time. You can't just wing it. I know XP3 gives you the video, it gives you all kinds of stuff. You can do the plane landing, you can wing it, you can do very little preparation for Fuse. And that's the result you'll probably get is very little. So, I like some of the things you guys have been saying and how you think through getting your worship band on stage. We can't be lazy, we can't be sloppy, and in order to not be that way, we've got to put in the time and have a Fuse, and you walk away from it that day going, that was a home run. And then, like I say, Monday morning, Wednesday we did the thing, and then Thursday I set up the auditorium. 350 chair pew things all by myself. But during that time was prayer and evaluation and thinking about the next week. How'd it go? Where did we screw it up? The thing we have to do as leaders is set the culture, because if we don't set the culture, somebody else will. And if we don't set the culture of what we want our difference makers doing, then it's just going to be all over the board, because they need led, they need to know what to do. And if they're doing X and we're expecting Y, and we're not saying anything to them, and we're not trying to get them over here to this, and they've set the culture, and that culture is not effective, it's not good, it's not healthy. they might as well go into service because they're not really doing much for the program. They would really like to make a difference. And they'd like to feel like they're making a difference. And they'd like to be shown how to make a difference. And, if we don't hold them to that standard of big box or excellence or doing what you're supposed to do, then we're letting them set the culture. And that culture, 100% of the time, is not going to be the culture that we want. So we have to put on our big panties, and we have to take the bull by the horns and go, this is what we need. This is why. This is what's at stake. These kids need Jesus, and you're the one that God's called to do this. So, cool. Any other thoughts before we go on and start talking about the 2 events coming up and whatever else? Probably our next face-to-face, December 3rd, we'll talk about rallies and kind of what the new thinking is for rallies, and make sure we're on the same page there. Rallies and outreach. I don't look at rallies as outreach anymore. I look at it as pulling our people together. They can invite their friends, but it's going to be for our people, so that I can speak into my students' lives because I'm discipling them, and that we do other stuff for outreach. Any other thoughts there, my little kids?
I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to do December 3rd.
Really? Okay.
I have a holiday that I observe, Hanukkah.
Okay. Well, that's too bad. All right. I'm going to turn this over to Josh. I'm going to go ahead. I have to get out of here. Love you guys, and we'll see you when I get back from Portland.
Portland?
Have fun, bud.
Peace out. Going to see my kid. Later, guys.